Sarah Hanson-Young is a Green Senator for South Australia, also the spokesperson for communications, the Deputy Chair of the Joint Select Committee on Social Media and Australian Society. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Leo. It's good to be here.
So the proposal itself, it's unclear exactly at what ages will be affected at this point. Could be as high as 16, could be as low as 14. But what is the Greens' position on all of it?
Look, we are obviously, we're concerned about how these social media platforms are continuing to be, in many ways, unsafe spaces for not just young people, though, Leo, like for a lot of people. And these big tech companies have gotten away for far too long of self-regulation or even no regulation. And, they feed on people's private data, they sell it to advertisers, they target people with pretty manipulative algorithms. All of this is secret. Like, there's a lot of problems with how the big social media giants work. But we are concerned that rather than tackling those issues, a ban on teenagers being able to access social media seems, frankly, the wrong way to go. We're worried about the impact that this will have on young people themselves, and locking them out of what is clearly an important part now of community and society. And rather than just banning people, we should be making those platforms safer, making them take responsibility, regulating them, and protecting young people from the insidious nature of their business models. So that's the algorithms that are manipulative, the targeting of advertising, and the real privacy intrusion that these big social media giants have.
So you say they're, talking with these platforms and addressing that harmful content. We know, though, obviously at the moment, both Meta and Twitter aren't exactly big fans of the federal government, and so it really remains seen whether they would be compliant. So is that something that has to be considered?
Yeah, look, absolutely. We can't just ask these platforms to behave appropriately and set up safe spaces. They need to be forced to do that. They need to be forced to follow rules and regulations, as has been done in other parts of the world. Now, Australia is not the only country, dealing with this. The EU has brought in a Digital Services Act that bans social media giants from being able to target young people through advertising and to use their manipulative algorithms on young people. So it can be done, but it's about forcing the companies who are making massive dollars off users, rather than cutting out young people from what is a now really regular source of communication, of learning, of education, and of course, employment. And I think, it's if I use this analogy, Leo, the beach is pretty rough. We teach kids to swim. We don't stop them from going to the beach. We teach them to swim. We put flags up. We tell them to swim between the flags, and we have supervising adults. And that is how you deal with making a safe space for young people.
So how would, and again, as we know, right, the proposal itself from the government is still being worked out, but forcing these platforms, can they really be forced? I mean, these are global giants, and, if they didn't comply, would we be talking about, wanting to ban them for non-compliance, to fine them? What would happen there?
I do think we need to be finding ways to force proper regulation on these big tech platforms, but they need to be responsible, not young people and individual users. These guys are making mega bucks off people's individual data and keeping their algorithms manipulative but secret. There's a lot of things that can be done legally to enforce proper rules without making it the user's problem, the young person's responsibility. But let me say, this kind of knee-jerk reaction of the Prime Ministers in relation to this, really, you got to wonder how much this has been thought through. One, we don't even know what age it kicks in. That's, come on. All right, we'll have a debate about that. But what social media is included? I mean, are young people are going to be kicked off Spotify now? I mean, that's a social media giant these days. Are young people going to be able to access that music platform, listen to podcasts, share music with their friends? Is Spotify in or is it out? Is YouTube in or is it out? There's so many unanswered questions. It feels to me that the Prime Minister's kind of responded quickly without really thinking through the details.
And look, we'll see whether this can get passed through in legislation with the coming election, which could be, whenever, even up to May. And there's only so many sitting days anyway. But the coalition is obviously supportive of a ban. And Peter Dutton says he wants it up to 16. He says if he was elected, he'd get that within 100 days. It sounds like, the government and the opposition, those numbers should be able to get this through the Senate. Are the Greens actually going to be able to have an effective role in, I guess, in your view, improving the legislation?
Well, we're going to look at the legislation when the legislation comes, but let me be clear. You mentioned at the beginning that I'm the deputy chair of this social media inquiry. This is an inquiry that the government themselves set up. All of the evidence we have had to this committee, all of the experts, they all say a ban on teenagers and young people being able to access social media is not the right way to go about making people safe. The experts are saying this is not how to do it. Tackle the business models, tackle the algorithms, tackle the privacy issues, tackle the education of not just young people, but their parents as to how to engage in the online world. That would be far more helpful. I see the Australian Psychologists Association out today saying this is not a good way of going. So the experts and the evidence doesn't back this. So we will be having a good look at this legislation when it comes through. We'll do what we can. But, frankly, if the Prime Minister and Peter Dutton just want to lock young people out of social media, I don't think they're going to be rewarded at the ballot box from young people, broadly speaking. It doesn't matter whether you're 16 or 18. If you're hearing that the government is wanting to crack down on young people and blame young people for being online, lock them out, I think there's going to be a lot of young Australians who are saying, what's with this? Why are we having to carry this and not the big tech platforms?
Well, just on that, a cynic might say you're just trying to get the young people's votes by opposing it, try to get the, eventual Gen Z and Gen Alpha vote. What would you say?
Well, I think young people deserve to have a voice in this debate, and they deserve to have their voice listened to, and that's what the Greens will do. I've been hearing all day from young people about how crazy an idea this is, particularly for that upper age group of 16-year-olds. I mean, frankly, Leo, you wouldn't have been able to do launch your career if this ban had been put in place. What a tragic shame that would have been. Chanel Contos would not have been able to expose the horrors of, sexual harassment of fellow students in private schools and around the country if she hadn't been able to access this type of information and young people couldn't engage with her. Social media is not all bad. What is bad is the social media companies who refuse to make their online spaces safe for children and target young people with advertising and these secret algorithms. That's what's got to be stopped, not young people engaging online.
Senator Sarah Hanson-Young, always great to chat. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Leo.